This may be news to you, but they don't give a damn about your advice. Now I know what they tell you. They tell you that they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, that they're done with where they are, that they're willing to do anything to get out of the space that they have placed themselves in. Well, actually, they're not going to take responsibility yet, right? They're going to tell you that life happened to them and so they are in this position. But they are ready to do whatever is necessary to get out of this ditch. And all they need in order for them to change is you. And you believe them. You buy into the story. You believe that they're going to take the advice that you give them, right? The hours that you pour over the phone, over those lunches and brunches, those sit downs that you have, right? Those let me pick your brain sessions, those let's get together and catch up sessions. You believe that all that you are pouring and extracting into this other individual's life is going to pay off. It's going to reap the benefits, is going to reap a harvest of transformation. You believe that this person is going to be evangelized, saved, redeemed due to your good work. And guess what? The entire time, that very same individual is telling you that they're ready to transform is going to hear your advice and it's going to go right through this one or right through that one. And it's going to go right through this one and then right through that one. That's right. Anything you say to them is not only not going to be processed, but is going to be completely bypassed, and they're going to continue doing the exact same thing. Now, this isn't a result of them genuinely wanting to go against the good-natured advice, to go against what you are giving out as solid advice because you've gone through the very circumstances, situations that they're currently going through or that they've placed themselves within, that they've manifested into their own lives, right? You've gone through those toxic relationship habits. You've gone through those patterns and you've had to break those patterns. You've done the inner work. You've done the shadow work. You have looked within. You have done the things necessary in order to get the results that you are now getting out of your life. And so when you give this advice, they want to receive it. They want to take that advice and for that advice to mean something to them, but they simply can't help but to ignore your advice. And so you think you're pouring into their cup. Meanwhile, there is a hole at the very bottom, not just a crack where it's dripping, but there's a literal hole where the water's going right in and right out. And you find them in another situation, and the next time you sit with them, they're now expressing what's happening there. You find them in another situation, and the next time you get on the phone, you get the details of what's happening there. There's a continuous, perpetual cycle of the patterns within their lives that they're telling you they want to break, that they have committed themselves to breaking, yet they find themselves in the very same place over and over and over again. And you find yourself in limbo, in Groundhog's Day, doing the exact same thing, giving the exact same advice, pouring in, believing that maybe one day, once you give enough, it will finally be enough. And this, as recovered people pleasers, as recovering people pleasers, we have to admit is a byproduct of our belief that we are not deserving of love as we are. So we go out seeking it. We go out saving the world. We're trying to make people see us and perceive us as a good person. So we're afraid to say no. We're afraid to create a boundary. We're afraid to have somebody extricated from our lives, excommunicated from our life process. We are afraid to cut somebody off. Why? Because we believe that makes us a bad person. And so instead of doing that, we drag them along with us. Now, what we don't realize is we're not just dragging them along, we're going backwards to go get them because they're walking backwards, right? You're on your journey. You're walking forward. You're walking forward. You're venturing forward. They tap you on the shoulder. Hey, can I get your help? You turn around like this. Now, what we're supposed to do is tell this individual, look, just watch me. Look what I'm doing and follow along, right? Look at the steps that I'm taking and follow along. But instead, we turn around, we neglect our journey, and we start to pour into this person right here, or we believe we're pouring into them, right? And so we give them whatever advice it is, and then we continue on our journey. Hey, oh, hold up. Can you please help me? And you look, and now they're further back. They're taking steps backwards. They're regressing, right? They're doing things that are working against their own greatest good. So now you're walking backwards. Now you're leaving your own path and you're following theirs. And before you know it, you're 150 steps back trying to drag this person, right, to the place that you were. And we find ourselves doing this in a multitude of relationship dynamics, not just in our romantic relationship, but in our friendships or familial relationships. where we're continuously dragging these people with us. We're trying to take these people who are choosing to go the other way, who are not deciding within themselves to resolve the issue. They have not made the conscious and willful decision to change. They want change. They would love change, but they're not willing to truly do what it takes to change. There's a difference. There's a difference when you make a decision that you're finally going to do something and enough is enough. Because at that moment, you burn the boats behind you. There's no option for retreat. You cannot go back to the life that you were once living. And there are far and few between of these types of individuals within this life, right? The individuals who would say, I'm done with whatever that was. I'm done with the toxic relationship dynamic. I'm done entertaining and engaging these sorts of relationships. I believe I'm worthy of love, and I'm going to explore that option. I'm not dabbling in it and then dabbling in this and then dabbling in that, because that's nothing more than staying in the very same vicious cycle that I claim to want to get out of. And so when we find these individuals coming into our lives, again, because we have that built in or that indoctrinated belief that we need to save others, that we are valid only when we're saving others. Now, look, I understand, I get it, and I hear it already. But aren't you doing that? What about you? You got a whole channel literally saving people. No, I do not. I have a channel where I'm speaking a truth that will set you free if you follow these steps. I am the individual who has made the decision to walk forward. I'm not going back to drag your ass. I'm telling you right now. I'm not going back there to get you and to pull you along the way. I'm not the one. I have learned my lesson far too many times in order to ever repeat that sequence. I understand that the only way I can help you is by continuously helping me. The only way I can help you is by continuously expressing truth. And so I'm not going to beg you. I'm not going to plead with you. I'm not going to go backwards. Instead, I will continue to venture forward. I will continue to go. And this is why we find ourselves in these situations where we've moved so far ahead within our lives, right? We have come to a place of such deep development. We become a completely different person. And then we try to go back in these environments and we don't fit in. And they know we don't fit in. They're looking at you like you got 14 heads, like something's wrong with you. They would tell you that you changed. Thank you very much. That is one of the greatest compliments you can receive from those who have not. People who are still the very same as the time you met them. If they tell you changed, that is an indicator like no other that you have finally started devoting to yourself the energy, the time, the attention, and the focus necessary to create the life that you truly desire, to manifest the life experience that you are here to experience, to get all that is yours and has always been yours. And they can too. There's nobody who's cursed to their position. They're making a decision to stay where they are. And it's not your job to do anything but to illuminate your own light. That's the best thing that I ever did for somebody, was shining. The best thing I ever did for somebody was doing the exact thing that I was trying to get everybody else to do. Man, follow your dreams. Do what you love most, right? I was trying to get them to write the book. But guess what? Helped those who I believed had a book in them write the book when I showed them my book, Doing Me Guilt-Free, my very first published book. Once I could say to you, look, here's a copy of my book. Whether you feel salty about it, whether you feel resentment and envy about it, or you feel inspired, it at least triggers something within you to where you're going to finally, hopefully, write your own book, which you can get by clicking the links in the description below. Okay. So I found myself at a place where I finally had to realize that the people around me who are asking for advice, oftentimes, more often than not, what they really want is my energy. They want my time. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with listening to people venting. But when you become somebody's emotional tampon, when you become somebody's perpetual dumpster dive, you know, in this, them trying to figure their emotions out, them trying to figure why things are happening in their life, which is nothing more than complain most times, gossiping, slandering, etc. When you become somebody's sounding board in that way, and they build that habit of doing so, what they're doing is using you as a coping mechanism. That's why we call some individuals enablers, right? You are literally enabling that behavior to perpetuate as opposed to being a shift or a change in that. And I promise you, as soon as you start telling that person real truths and leaving it at that, instead of coddling them within their experience, they will stop coming to you, right? Which is more often than that. You'd be surprised. Like if you told somebody, you know what if you just started being more positive? Like my girl went through this experience where she told one of her coworkers who's, putting on the entire drama, putting on the entire fiasco, the victim narrative. And she said, why don't you try, be more positive about it and speak life into yourself, etc. And this woman immediately turned into a monster. How dare you speak to me like that? How dare you try to blah, blah, blah. You don't even know what I'm going through. She threw on more theatrics because she didn't get the answer she wanted. And so she never came back to my girl with that ever again. You understand me? So sometimes just telling that person the absolute truth will be the most powerful way to get rid of them or to have them completely see the light. And the other way you do so, and it's one of my favorite ones, is look, do you actually want advice or do you want to vent? Do you want advice or do you want validation? Is probably the best one. And if they tell me that what they're looking for is advice, I say, okay, is this something that you're willing to apply to your life? Are you ready to? Because if not, then I'm probably not the person to go to. I'll be straight up with you. I'm not going to coddle you in your suffering. I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is remind you of your power. And not everybody's ready for that. That's why I'm not for everybody. You understand me? I can only tell you the truth because I am obliged to that, because that's what I'm obliged to do within myself. So again, I would say, look, I might not be the best person for you to go to. If you're needing somebody to coddle you in that suffering, that's different, right? If you're needing somebody to be there for you, that's also different. I can be there for you, right? You're going through something, you're grieving something, but if you are in a situation you are putting yourself in and you are continuing that same habit and you want advice, make sure that you are ready to get real advice, because I'm going to give you something that I'm going to expect you to apply in your life. In the same way, if I came to you, I would take that advice and I would apply it into my own life. If I didn't want the advice, if I wanted attention or validation, I'm going to go to myself for that. And all of us need to learn how to validate ourselves. If we want to be babied, learn how to baby yourself. Stop wasting people's time. For real. It's a very selfish act. On both sides, it can be selfish, but it's extremely selfish act when we go out into the world and we're seeking the pity of other individuals and we're using other people for that means. We're using other people as a source of our validation, as a source of creating some sense of victim narrative, which we're causing within our own life. You're going back to the same relationship and you're complaining to your friends, I can't believe he's doing this to me. I can't believe she's doing this to me. Look how terrible my situation is. You're choosing that situation every single time, 10 times out of 10. And then you're going to others to make yourself a victim in that situation. And then you're expecting those people to always show up. Look, I don't know who you think I am, but I'm not the one. I'm really not. That's why I create content this way. I write the books, right? I've been working on films and television shows. I got music that I put out. I'll put the message out in a multitude of mediums in order for you to get the message in a multitude of ways. But one thing I am not going to do, sure as hell not going to do, is stop my life, stop my path in order to turn around and to have you dump everything onto me simply because you're not willing to go through it, to process it. I would rather create 1,000 videos for you explaining that process as opposed to you bringing me into that space. And that's how we have to be within our lives. We truly have to protect our energy. Not that there is something dangerous out there that's going to go get us, right? But instead, we preserve it for those things that matter, to contribute into the part of life that matters most to us. How are we going to give all of our energy to everybody else who's wanting the energy for no other reason than, to feel good about themselves, to make themselves feel more comfortable, more relieved, to use you as an antidote, to use you as some sort of over-the-counter prescription, and then expect ourselves to have enough energy to give to our own lives. Whereas if we just contributed to our own lives, we would be able to have the greatest impact on those around us. Just like right now, I devote my time into creating content, writing the books, writing the screenplays, writing the music. That's where my time goes. Spending time with the woman I love most. That's where my time goes. You understand me? I devote my life in those places, and those places feed back into me, and they also feed into everybody else around me. I do that. I mind my business, and I drink my water. That's what I do. And so if you're looking to have this sort of change in people's lives, you're looking to become this person who people can go to, first check yourself as to why, right? Why do I want to be the savior? And oftentimes you will find that at the root of it, you believe that your validation, your worthiness comes from you feeling as if you are saving the other individual, or you have a guilt complex. living me guilt-free, doing me guilt-free. Like, you got to start living your life from a place where you are not doing things from guilt because you feel bad, but instead from a genuine outpour and a desire to do so. And, I got an auntie in business. She is a business mentor connoisseur. She's a business mentor connoisseur. This is me. I'm the coffee shop connoisseur. So I've been using that word like 2-3 times a day, right? But she is a business mentor extravagant, right? And she has this rule where she will mentor an individual once. If they don't apply that advice, the next time she sees them coming for advice again, it's done. So one and done rule. She ain't got the 3 strikes rule. So you come to her, oh, what do I do with my business? Okay, do X, Y, and Z. What does your business look like? You might sit down for 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. If they come back to her with the exact same thing and they haven't done it, no more advice. It's done. And that's the type of way that I'm living. Those are the type of boundaries that I keep. I'm not saying I'm going to cut you off and, I no longer care about you. No, it ain't about all that. It's simply, look, I'm only going to speak to this once. I'm only going to speak to the situation that you are coming to me saying, claiming, stating that you want my advice about. This one time. I can't keep going in circles with you. I am literally only expounding energy that I could be putting towards those who genuinely want to change. And there are people who are watching this right now. Like, imagine if I spent this 20 minutes with somebody who did not want it and I just gave all of this up, right? I'm spinning game to this individual who genuinely does not have it in them to change. They just want somebody to validate them. They just want somebody to pay them attention. If I did that, I wouldn't have been able to put the 20 minutes towards creating this video for those who genuinely need it and the other content that I'm going to create, right? It would take time away from the actual impact I could be making in the world when I pour into what I'm here to do, as opposed to validating whoever it may be. And this ain't always an easy message to digest because it triggers us. We feel like, man, I'm a terrible person. Man, how could I ever, treat people in that way? It's not how you're treating people. It's not even how you're talking to them. The communication is going to sound different. I don't tell somebody, get out my face. No, like, look, I understand that you're looking for advice. Is this truly something that you want? I approach them just like that, right? Because I'll be honest with you. I'm very willing to give you the advice. But, if it's not something you're ready to apply, then it's probably not best to come to me. If you need something else like validation or somebody to, validate you in your stuff right now and whatever it is that you're doing, I'm probably not going to be the one. In fact, I'm not going to be the one. I'm not going to tell you a lie in order to make you feel comfortable. I'm going to tell you the truth because I am vowed to the truth. I have made a vow within myself to only tell you the truth. And I say that I love you, therefore I can only tell you the truth. And so if you're not ready for that, then I would suggest maybe going to somebody else. It's just like if you were a doctor and you were a toe doctor and the person needed, finger surgery, you say, look, I can give you a recommendation, or I'm probably not going to be the person you want to come. I'm not the person you want to come to. I do the toes. Understand me? You're going to have to find you a finger doctor. We got to be straight up with folk. And it's going to save you time. And it's also going to show them like, man, this person is like, they're serious. So people will come to you only with serious inquiries. You're not going to be people's free therapist and become resentful over a lifetime for being so. One of my earliest consultation clients, she was telling me how she was so sick and tired of people coming to her with all their business and this and that and her having to fix everybody's problems. And I said, well, who's the person who's answering the phone? Who's the one spending that 45 minutes, hour, 2 hours on that phone with those individuals for the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th, 12th, 100th time? We're not a victim in this situation. We have a choice to make. Are we going to feed our energy into that or feed our energy into actually creating a difference, which is feeding it right back into ourselves, right back into our purpose, what we're here to do, our mission in life? That is always going to do infinitely more than us trying to save some damn body, period.